diplomacy with Donald Trump? He's a T-Rex. You mate with him or he devours you. One or the other. I don't want to be hyperbolic about it, but this guy's a wrecking ball. I hope people are waking up to what we're dealing with. This is code red.
It's Code Red. Code Red. What, that was in that You Can't Handle the Truth movie. That was Code Red. Got a Code Red for the down at Guantanamo Bay in Cuba. That was, of course, California Governor Gavin Newsom. And what Donald Trump is a T-Rex. You either mate with him or he devours you. He's always thinking about mating with, like his campaign manager's wife and things like that. Not an honorable guy. Not a good man. The Democrats don't like honorable men. They don't like men. Can't even get a contract if you're a white man in the Commonwealth of Virginia because the Democrats are racists and they're sexist, too. It's misandry. Misandry is the male version of misogyny. Everyone seems to know misogyny. Misandry not used very often. Democrats, toxic masculinity, all that stuff. But then they throw their wives at Gavin Newsom it's a gum wrapper out the window of your car on the highway. It's okay. Isn't it amazing? Yes, it is. Yes, sir. Also, James Clyburn, he's one of the top Democrats in the House of Representatives. He says he's absolutely worried that we won't have elections in November because they're always doing this self-immolating terror fear thing. And it gets worse than that. Says, I'm absolutely worried we won't have elections. And what else is he worried about, Michael? Because that's not all he's worried about. What else is he worried about? He's worried about a lot of things, isn't he? What else? Come on, he's worried about a lot. He's worried we won't have elections because Trump bad, orange man bad, all that stuff. Very worried we won't have elections. And the Democrats say that if Republicans win in November, they want to bring back slavery. That's what he said, the bullwhip, and just like that Robert Mapplethorpe picture that the Democrats like so much. But that's what the lunatic, the mental dwarf, James Clyburn, big leader in the House of Representatives for the Democrats, Democrat, he's old enough to remember the Civil War. I mean, honestly, that's pretty amazing. He and Joe Biden and a whole lot of them, really. Yeah, but on Monday's The View, the Democrat Party show The View on ABC, James Clyburn claimed that he was worried there would not be free and fair elections in November. And and he's very upset. And he says that slavery, he's very worried about it. As you know, at least I used to teach history, James Clyburn said, and I used to tell my students all the time. He used to tell his students all the time. I bet he had a really tedious class if he really taught anything. Anything that's happened before can happen again. Yeah, you got to keep slaves out of the hands of the Democrats, that's for sure. Led to the last Civil War. When we saw those people rapping on those windows up in Michigan, Michigan, trying to set up separate sets of electors. Same thing in Pennsylvania. You mean challenging the election? They've challenged every presidential election in the 21st century that they didn't win, starting with 2000. But never mind that. They challenge them all. In Georgia, who do they think is the governor there anyway? Trying to set up a process that will allow this country to return to what it was in 1876. And there was no slavery in 1876 because the Republicans had already done away with it over the dead bodies of Democrats. They called themselves the Confederate States of America. And this is James Clyburn on The View saying that, the process will return the country to what it was in 1876 when the election got thrown into the House of Representatives. See, and they were able to overturn what Abraham Lincoln, the first Republican president who they murdered, and the Congress had done successfully to get rid of slavery. Right, so they brought back slavery in 1876. He's not much of a history teacher. No, Republicans did away with slavery over your dead bodies, Democrats and James Clyburn. But here he is. He says, I get sick and tired of hearing people say, it's never been like this before. Yes, it has. Yeah, well, you guys were the slave traders and the plantation owners and the bullwhip rape shack Democrats. You guys are the slavery people. Then you created the KKK. Then you created Jim Crow laws. And Then you created segregation, and now they still have black-only colleges and racially segregated college graduations, and hey, let's build abortion shacks just like Margaret Sanger called for in black neighborhoods all over America and exterminate 40% of the black population. James Clyburn is not a bright man, not an intelligent man, but he's got. Did you actually pull that audio? You have, and Michael's looking at me like I have the audio of James Clyburn from The View, for the love of Mike.
They were trying to set up a process that will allow this country to return to what it was in 1876 when the election got thrown into the House of Representatives.
They say, yep.
And they were able to overturn what Abraham Lincoln
the Republican
and the Congress had done, successfully getting rid of slavery.
Right.
That is what they're attempting to do today. I get sick and tired of hearing people say, it's never been like this before. Yes, it has been.
And you're
like
right.
this before.
Listen to how dumb these people are.
Our history past will become prologue.
Absolutely.
We know that.
Our history past will become prologue. This is low IQ theater, and they pay them all more than $1 million a year. Multi-million-dollar salaries for these idiotic women. 1876, honestly, the Emancipation Proclamation was a Republican executive order. Doing away with slavery was entirely a Republican project. The Democrats with the bullwhips and the plantations and the slaves, they're the party of slavery. James Clyburn, 1876, when the Civil War was 1861 to 1865, and he's talking about 1876. And the Republicans were trying to bring back slavery, and now you've got your illegal alien gang members as your new slaves, your new cheap labor that you're not responsible for. You don't even have to house them or feed them. You just bullwhip them, from your front porch with the white columns. Just extraordinary stuff. So that's your Democrat Party. Aren't they amazing? Yes, they are. By the way, this morning it was announced out of Maryland, since we were talking about Maryland and politics and Virginia and all that good stuff. The people at the Baltimore Sun have the headline, Larry Hogan, the former allegedly Republican governor of Maryland, of the left-wing state Maryland. Larry Hogan says he won't seek another term as Maryland governor. Oh, no, I can't believe that. That's a former Republican Maryland Governor Larry Hogan said he will not seek a return to the government house this year. The government, I think they mean the governor's mansion, to the government house this year, ending speculation about a potential challenge to Democratic Governor Wes Moore. Wes Moore. It should be less Moore, shouldn't it? But they got Wes Moore. They got Hogan made the announcement in a guest commentary published by the Baltimore Sun, writing that he would not enter the race despite continued interest from supporters and political observers. Larry Hogan, who was, he's a perfectly nice man, and he's a Republican part of the time, and not very Republican a part of the time. But I can understand why you wouldn't want to get back into it, because who in their right mind would want to be back into that? And speaking of anti-Semitic Democrat Jewish people, this is a great story, too, the New York Post. Bernie Sanders, who honeymooned in the USSR with his adoring wife, who bankrupted that college in Vermont. First time a college has ever been bankrupted by his communist wife. Bernie Sanders. Now, listen to this. He's been serving on the Holocaust Museum. The Holocaust Museum. He's been on the board, right, for 18 years. For 18 years. And listen to this from the New York Post. Senator Bernie Sanders has served on the U.S. Holocaust Memorial Museum's board for 18 years, but he hasn't attended a single meeting, inspiring a bipartisan push to oust him. The New York Post has learned, but the Washington Post has not, and the New York Times has not. Bernie Sanders, an alleged independent from Vermont, was appointed in 2007 to the Holocaust Memorial Council. He's a communist. He loves tens of millions of people dying. That's what communists do, which meets twice a year to oversee the landmark D.C. Museum, located about 2 miles from the Capitol. It's not 2 miles from the Capitol. It's a lot closer than that to the Capitol. It's not 2 miles from the Capitol. But it's a New York paper. They'd have to look at Google Earth or something. Records supplied to the New York Post by museum staff show that Bernie Sanders, who mainstreamed Democratic socialism with campaigns for the Democratic presidential nomination in 2016 and 2020, has missed every meeting of the board since his appointment. Maybe he forgot. Maybe he wasn't aware. There are 2 large meetings every year where people fly in from all over the country for it, but Bernie Sanders couldn't be bothered to walk across the road in D.C. Again, I think it's more like they're at 14th Street. It's less than 1 mile from the Capitol and from the Senate office buildings, maybe a little bit more. It's closer to the House office buildings. But isn't that amazing? People fly in from all over the country. Bernie can't walk across the street, said fellow board member Robert Garson, who's president of the American Association of Jewish Lawyers and Jurists. 18 is a good number in Judaism, but not in this case, quipped Wall Street executive Jonathan Birkin, another board member who, like Garson, spoke in his personal capacity and not for the museum. So he's on the board. The council established by an act of Congress in 1980. I think Bernie Sanders was in his 40th year in Congress in 1980, approximately. Includes 55 members presidentially appointed to 5-year terms. Another 10 slots filled by leaders of the House and the Senate, with 5 members coming from each chamber. Garson and Birkin, both appointed by President Trump, are among the dozen signers of the letter asking Senate Minority Leader Chuck Schumer to replace Bernie Sanders from the board of the Holocaust Museum. And he's allegedly Jewish, but he's not very good at it, apparently. Citing his non-attendance and repeated claims that Israel has committed genocide in the Gaza Strip. He's more like a Nazi than he is. It's amazing stuff. So Bernie Sanders, that's just great. I am telling you, our Democrat Party, they're really something. These people, can I just say? All right, let's go. Let's look at the clock. Let's go back to the telephones, Michael, the great American people calling in to our humble radio show. Let's go to Matt, calling from St. Louis, Missouri. Matthew, you are on the Chris Plant Show.
Hey, Chris.
Hey, Matt.
Happy 1-year anniversary of the start of Trump 2.0 in Smidtopia. And a quick salute to my childhood friend Joe, who just passed away, a good man, a true patriot, and unfortunately one less conservative vote in Virginia to stop their slide into insanity. So in the past, you've said that the Democrats should be wearing armbands and said, asked what they should be on them, what they should look like. I had an epiphany over the weekend about that. You've chronicled recently how, they're not just content in their own insanity. They demand that everyone else, subscribe to their insanity as well. It's not optional for them that we all must comply.
That's right.
So meanwhile, in the movie Johnny Dangerously, Michael Keaton, Dom DeLuise, Joe Piscopo, there's a scene. Joe Piscopo is one of the bad guys, and his sidekick, they're trying to park a car, and he says, "Oh, you can't park there. It's for handicapped." And Joe Piscopo says, "I am handicapped. I'm psychotic." And he pulls out this placard and puts it on the dashboard that's kind of that blue handicap with the white graphic. And the graphic is a face just, cross-eyed and tongue hanging out and just a crazy face, and that's his placard. He's psychotic. So I think these armbands should have that graphic on it, that crazy face, and the surrounded by the slogan, "Convert or Die." I think that should be the Democrats' armband. So
the Islamist slogan, "Convert or Die," and it's absolutely true. And you're right that their psychosis, the Democrat Party psychosis, they demand that everyone conform to their political psychosis, to their mental illness. In fact, since you brought it up, Matt, I got to say, brought in a story today. Alex Ovechkin, the hockey great on the Washington Capitals, they had on Saturday night, they had gay pride night at the hockey game because hockey is such a gay game, and it turns out Alex Ovechkin and 20 members of the Capitals refused to participate in Pride Night at the hockey arena the other night. and they're supposed to wear. They had jerseys. They're like gay jerseys, and they did away with those a couple years ago. But now they're all supposed to put rainbow tape on the blade of their hockey sticks. And Alex Ovechkin and 20 other members of the Capitol said, "You know what? Your mandatory political speech is not something that I'm going to submit to." So Alex Ovechkin and I've got the list of names here, 20 Capitol players, took to the ice on Saturday, their match against the Florida Panthers, and only eight of the players were seen sporting the rainbow tape on their hockey sticks, and it's become, on Pride Night, and that means gay pride. It doesn't mean American pride or heterosexual pride or parent pride or anything like that. But Ovechkin and a whole bunch of other hockey players on the Capitol said, "We're not doing it." And again, Matt, that is, the Democrat Party. I don't know why your sexuality has to be a part of my daily life. You guys, you go and do whatever you want, and you ladies, especially you women, because that, hey. But listen, the mandatory nature of everything they do. They don't care what you do as long as it's mandatory. Now, again, your sexuality is your business. Why you have to make it my business every day of the year, I don't know. But enough is enough. And mandatory schmandatory. Take your rainbow tape and...
For the handicapped. I am handicapped. I'm psychotic.
Yes. Now, I see Great Americans on the big board here that I want to go to, people calling in to the radio program. But I squeezed my time window here to the point where I want to give it a minute so that I can give you an appropriate amount of time. Yeah, the Democrat Party, they're not what they used to be. And Gavin Newsom, you see Gavin Newsom, you have that, Gavin Newsom is in Davos, and he's looking for dates. He's got an idea for the leaders of Europe.
It's time to buck up. It's time to get serious and stop being complicit. It's time to stand tall and firm, have a backbone. I've seen this in the United States, the supine Congress playing both sides, say one thing on a text or a tweet and another publicly. It's time to have principles. It's time to stand tall and strong.
Does that mean responding with tariffs?
Time to stand united. People rolling over. I should have brought a bunch of knee pads for all the world leaders.
He should have brought a bunch of knee pads for all the world leaders, says Gavin Newsom. And then he can just give them all his room number at the hotel in Davos because he just wants to help. CNN had a CNN day yesterday. I've got some of their idiot audio for you. And we have Don Lemon, the Don Lemon update. He's very unwell. But before we get to all that, let's go back to the telephones, talk to the great American people. Let's go to Gina, calling from Fredericksburg, Virginia. Gina, you're on the Chris Plant Show.
Hi, Chris.
Hi, Gina.
So I was listening to somebody talking in my office, and they said something about dodging consequences, and I figured that must be what D.C. stands for.
Dodging consequences. Washington, dodging consequences. That's good. Someone used the turn of phrase, dodging consequences, and your mind immediately went to D.C. for Washington, D.C., which is entirely appropriate, isn't it, Gina?
I think it is.
D.C., dodging consequences. That's good, and it's clean, and it's wholesome, and it's true and accurate.
There you go, and use it as often as you would like.
I think I will. Because that's quite good. And you're in Fredericksburg. You're in beautiful Fredericksburg, Virginia, not too far outside of the city of Washington. And do you have experience in our nation's capital?
Not as a working person, but definitely as a visitor.
Excellent, excellent. Dodging consequences, Washington, D.C. That is entirely appropriate. Very, very good. Excellent. And you're in Virginia. Did you hear all the stuff that I read on the air a little while ago about all the things that the Democrats now in charge of the Commonwealth are planning on doing there? You know, there are no contracts. State contracts for under $100,000 cannot go to white men, for example. Can't do that.
Oh, no, I just got in the car before I phoned you a few minutes ago, and no, I didn't hear that. That's pretty sick.
Yeah, they're racists. They're the left. They're Democrats. They're not on our side at all. Yeah, but one of the things that the Democrats are now promising, you might say threatening, but they say promising, is that in Washington, D.C., any discretionary contracts, in the Commonwealth of Virginia, any discretionary contracts under $100,000, white men are barred from even being considered unless there's actually nobody else bidding for the contract. Anybody else bidding for the contract gets it, except white men, because, they're racist and they're sexist, aren't they?
Racist, sexist, yeah. God knows. What if that white man happens to be homosexual? They're homophobe then, too.
I think that they would have to make an exception if it's an LGBTQ business, which would be an LGBTQB, then they might have to consider that because it would be discriminatory to and that's the thing. And that's actually true. You made a good point, Gina, because Democrats, the left is the Democrat Party, they discriminate against everyone, and they always have black people, Asian people, Latino people, which they call Latinx because they think they're a bathroom tissue and an ethnic group. Very, very unwell. And then the LGBTQ thing. But everybody in the United States of America is protected by the Democrat Party and by the government in most cases, except straight white men. I
don't think they would like John Reed either.
Don't think they'd like John Reed either.
He's homosexual, and he happened to be running for office here, and he's a Republican. So if you have an R next to your name, the LGBT thing won't matter.
That is a good point. That is a great point. Yeah, even if you're a Republican and you're black, they discriminate against you. If you're a Republican and you're LGBTQ, they discriminate against you. If they discriminate against, you're absolutely right. That is a good qualifier and should be included every time. They discriminate against straight white males and anybody who's Republican. If they're black, gay, if they're women.
Or it's cancellation right there.
Yeah, you're right. I'm glad you straightened me out on that because that is an important differentiation to make. Very, very good. The Democrats and all the new taxes they've got and also they're screwing with the elections now because they've got and they love abortion, so it's illegal to talk to anybody at an abortion clinic, outside an abortion clinic. They're going to make that illegal. And they're going to extend the time absentee ballots can be received after Election Day to 3 days. Allow people to cast their ballots, their votes electronically on the Internet because that will make it really secure. Expand ranked choice voting, which is for children. Extend the deadline for ballot curing to 1 week after Election Day. And they're planning on making the elections in Virginia elections that no one can trust or believe in.
I think we're already there, but yeah.
Yeah, there you go. And raising taxes and more speed cameras for more monitoring. And they're changing Columbus Day to Indigenous Peoples Day because, Indigenous peoples have done so much for everyone that you really have to observe them and not Christopher Columbus, who discovered America aboard a rickety old wooden ship.
Yeah, well, colonizers,
Yeah, that's right. And, which is great. I've got to say, Gina, it's great because the Democrats right now are defending Greenland, which is a colonial holding of the Danish in Denmark. And the Democrat Party, they're trying to keep colonialism alive in 2026, in the 21st century. They want to secure European colonialism from centuries gone by and keep colonialism alive into the 21st century.
Well, they're something special, aren't they?
They really are. Yeah. What happened? Their brains. There's something terribly wrong with their brains. Oh, man. Gina?
Well, I think they drained out their ears, but other than that,
That's as I like to say, sometimes your brain, you can be so open-minded that your brain falls out.
Oh, yes. That's good. I like that.
And that's what's going on with the Democrat Party. They again, we all grew up when the Democrat Party was much more normal than they are today, and they're just mental. James Clyburn saying that there may not be elections in November, and if there are, that somehow the Republicans who did away with slavery might bring back slavery in 2026. Even though Republicans are the ones that got rid of slavery. And that's James Clyburn is one of the leaders of the Democrats in the House of Representatives. They have the brains of squirrels, and I apologize to intelligent squirrels.
Yeah, there's some cute ones out there. Don't do that. Yeah, there's lots of parasites, and they run the parasite party. Man,
Manischewitz, I am telling you. Gina, great stuff. I'm very glad you called in. And there's a lot more that the Democrats are doing. Their new sales tax of 4.3% on Uber Eats and on Amazon and on anything you have delivered. New sales tax for businesses because they want to make everything more expensive. While they talk about affordability, they're making everything more expensive because they talk out of both sides of their hoo-has, and just amazing. New higher tax bracket of 8% and 10% for people that if you make more than $600,000, a new tax bracket of 8%. So that's, a lot of money. 10% if you make more than $1 million a year. That'll be $100,000 a year to you per $1 million. So if you make $2 million, that's an additional state tax of $200,000 to you. And, move to Florida, where there is no state income tax, and you'll save hundreds of thousands of dollars. It will pay for your home in Florida. And Virginia doesn't deserve to be allowed to rip you off like this. And then they're gonna mess with Election Day. Oh, and listen to this. There is new personal property tax on landscaping equipment, Gina. So if you buy a new lawnmower, every year you're going to have to pay just to keep your lawnmower in your garage, because the Democrats are like the mafia, and they've got a gun to your head that is the state, and they shake you down for things that you already own, that you're already paid taxes on, but every year they're going to want you to pay taxes on it again and again.
They are just blood-sucking evil things.
They really are evil things. That's exactly right. Yeah, the Democrat Party, this is what they're doing in California and in Illinois and in New York, and people are fleeing and moving to Texas and moving to Florida and moving to states where there are a number of states with no annual income tax, state income tax. You already have the federal government, and, they want more than half of what everybody makes. And they get it,
And then ivermectin them like parasites. It's this parasitic, whatever, ivermectin, fenbendaz, what all that stuff.
Yeah, I miss ivermectin.
We had one of those. Yeah, I just wish that we could deparasite BC.
Yeah, that's a fun idea. Yeah, I like cultural ivermectin. We need a societal ivermectin to do away with the parasites, the blood-sucking parasites of the left that are here to steal everything. And then eventually, when they get around to it, they kill everybody, because it's what they've done for 100 years, really since the Bolshevik Revolution, 1917. St. Petersburg, since they took over, it's what they do. They're not on the side of civilization, Gina.
No, they're not.
Really not.
I better go, though, because I'm going to go into a very low zone.
Okay, I'll let you go. Thank you for the call. Wonderful talking to you. And Gina's a wonderful name, isn't it? And it's a great name. Gina's a great name. It really is. It's Italian names are more fun than most other names. So we've got that. Thank you, Gina. Let's get. What do you say? You want to get to a little Don Lemon? A little bit of Don Lemon. We played a lot of Don Lemon for you yesterday because he rated that church like the fascist, Nazi. What else is he? Communist. They went and they rated because they said, "Oh yeah, the pastor here is a senior member of ICE," and it's all perfectly unclear even now whether there's any validity to that claim or whether it's just made up like so many other things that they make up. But Don Lemon invading the church in actually St. Paul, Minneapolis, the Minneapolis-St. Paul area and all that stuff. And Don Lemon, listen to this. He got in a little bit of hot water because he might have violated the KKK Act, the Ku Klux Klan Act. So black gay guy, Don Lemon, may be charged with violating the KKK Act on Martin Luther King Day, which is pretty damn funny, I've got to say. And here is Don Lemon responding, hey, the church is not happy that you mentally ill people. Did you see the big guy with the beard who's in the pastor's face? You see he was leading protests in Washington, D.C. recently. He's not a Minneapolis guy. He's a professional communist agitator, and he's been an agitator in Washington, D.C. even recently, and now he's in Minneapolis harassing pastors in their churches. And Don Lemon was called out about this. And, what's with this? And you might face charges, the FACE Act and the KKK Act. And they put grandmothers in prison for years on using the FACE Act because they prayed outside of abortion clinics where the Democrats are killing black babies in particular in Washington by the millions and harvesting their organs. The Democrats like that. But here's Don Lemon. He's got it all figured out. Well, why is the church complaining and the pastor complaining that you guys invaded his church and had your mental breakdown there? Here's Don Lemon.
And there's a certain degree of entitlement. I think people who are, in the religious groups like that, it's not the type of Christianity that I practice, but I think that they're entitled, and that entitlement comes from a supremacy, a white supremacy. And they think that this country was built for them, that it is a Christian country, when actually we left England because we wanted religious freedom. It's religious freedom, but only if you're a Christian and only if you're a white male.
Ah, is that what happened? I got an idea. Stop shooting people. How about that? Maybe that'd make things a little bit more fun. Wait, it's white supremacy, and they act like, well, see, he stumbled across American history there for a moment, that people fled the crown and King George and came to the colonial America, which was discovered by Christopher Columbus, but they're going to call it Indigenous Peoples Day because of all the great contributions made by indigenous peoples. And he's, well, wait a minute, he's the entitlement? Religious groups like that, you mean Christendom, the billions of Christians worldwide, and they have a sense of entitlement to practice their religion. Yeah, they do have, they are entitled to practice their religion, but he says that's white supremacy. I got to tell you, we're going to take away electricity. We really are. We're going to take away combustion engines, airplanes, cell phones, all the things that white men made. We're going to take away from you. We're going to have a meeting over the weekend, and I've already talked to a lot of people. We're thinking about taking away, starting with electricity. So no cell phones, no lights in your house. We invented the light bulbs too, all kinds of light bulbs, every imaginable light bulb white guys invented. And white supremacy, I don't know, we're doing pretty good, though. Don Lemon, he's not done yet. It's white supremacy, and now he's a victim.
And so, yeah, I absolutely 100%, but it's an intimidation tactic. And, I said, I don't understand how I've become the face of it when I was a journalist. I do understand that I'm the biggest name there. And I'm also, as I was on with my producers this morning, you and Kylie talk all the time. My producers were saying, I said, how did I become the face of this? And my producer said, Don, you're a gay black man in America.
No, you were a CNN anchor for some inexplicable reason. And you're violating the First Amendment when you claim to be a journalist. The first item, there are five elements in the First Amendment. The first is the free practice of religion. The left is coming for our rights. They're not liberals. They're the left.
Don't be disrespectful to people, or not respectful. Disrespectful, I think, is not actually a word.
All right, and now back to the telephones. Let us go to Jay, calling from the Garden State, of New Jersey, where Bruce Springsteen comes from. I'm sorry, Jay, I didn't mean to bring that up. Jay, you're on the Chris Plant Show. JJ, J-Mobile, Jayster, J-Man. You can call me Jay. You can call me Ray. All right, let's. What?
Hello.
Hey, there's Jay. I was just getting ready to jump. Hey, Jay. You're on the Chris Plante Show.
Chris. Yeah,
hey.
I'm just calling. Yeah, good morning. About Trump's anniversary in office, if I could just, comment about that.
Sure.
I'm happy with a lot of things that's going on, but at the same time, I think that there has to be some changes because if Democrats aren't arrested, if they aren't thrown en masse into prison, the next tyrant that comes into office, which will inevitably happen, the politics is a pendulum, and they're going to come back into office, the power, and they're going to triple and quintuple their force against the citizens of the United States because they see that what they did to President Trump and to the Jan 6ers and to all the pro-lifers didn't go far enough, and they'll see that next time around they have to ramp it up quite significantly, especially because, as the saying goes, if you swing at the king, you cannot miss because the king will jump up faster and more angry. It's going to be like you're going to upset the hornet's nest. So I think that there has to be many arrests. Democrats have to be thrown. Government people have to be thrown to prison. Have to rot in jail for what they did to the United States justice system because the weaponization of law that they did during the Biden years and before that. It's something that the U.S. cannot come back from unless the only way to do that is reciprocal punishment, exact for what they make up crimes. It doesn't matter. They made up crimes. You got to make up crimes also. Throw them in jail for whatever reason. They all have to go from Merrick Garland, James Comey, Andrew McCabe, everyone in between. They all have to be thrown into prison. And the person to do that is quite clearly not Pam Bondi. Sometimes I think about Chris, what life would be like if Matt Gaetz had gotten the nomination like he should have. Because he would have been a bulldog in day one. He would have thrown these people into prison. At least I think so. Pam Bondi has been a total disgrace. Kash Patel, too. They both got to go. And the problem is that I don't see that happening, and it doesn't give me great faith. And, if the Democrats take the House in 26, which is a very likely possibility, they will be impeaching Trump every week. It's going to be Republicans will rue the day that they did not take action. And to be quite honest, if they don't pass the SAVE Act this year...
Yeah, they're already talking impeachment.